Hi everyone, it's Jen from Mind's Eye, and what we're going to do today is a deep dive look in psychic mediumship about Hitler, the dictatorships, UFOs, conspiracy theories, and Psyops. Now, as a psychic, a Psyop is something of an unbeknownst that comes in on a through and through, on an all in all, on a be it all, to know it all, to sew it all to bed. It really comes in almost at the highest degree of common law that you can't even see it coming. And when you can't even see it coming, you can't even like be it. It actually scares like almost for lack of a better term, the Jesus out of many people that you can't even see it. That you sit there and you go, "What did you do? Where did you go? I can't even be it whatsoever. I can't even look at it. We've been waiting for this one." I have to sit there and laugh, and then they're like, "That's derogatory," and then it's right there on the table. That's how fast a psyop can come in on you. They work their magic and their words so well that they cut away at you, and you didn't even know what's coming. All of a sudden, you're a criminal. And then when you sit there and you go, "This is just a conspiracy theory. What is it?" That's a run-in. And when you run in, you go in and you say, "All be about and know about and so about and be about obey." And they push you away and they put you in your place where they think you need you to be. But then it keeps it running. And that is where a lot of people actually have gone wrong a little bit about conspiracy theories. Because why is it centuries old? And why do I keep running into the same topics? And it's Roanoke and it's uh, Salem witch trials. And it is a little bit of Egypt in the Middle East, where there's nothing else to talk about. And then when I sit there, I'm like, there really isn't anything to talk about. No, there's a lot. Okay, so let's talk about it. Now, historically, UFOs have been around forever. You can watch Ancient Aliens and you can do lots of things, and you can sit there and you can say it's the highest degree of facts. But why was Hitler actually looking into UFOs? And why is he a DEA nightmare? Why is he a DEA nightmare? You couldn't even like rent it. So I'm seeing him in mediumship and a little bit of past life remote viewing, and it's not mine, it's somebody like the energy. And when I see he's smoking a cigarette, he's walking down the sidewalk, and I see the grass, and I hear him say in his own terms, which was ado, and his own terms actually meant that you couldn't even get it done. You couldn't get it done at the UN, and you couldn't be. He goes punlan handalan the endian da da da, and all of a sudden he is right there in Egypt. Do you know how powerful that was? That was how good he was with his magic, his energy, his words, that he could just put himself right there in a blink. And in a blink, all of a sudden, there's a car accident. So that's what I had to say. He's a little bit haywire. And that would actually be a conspiracy theory of the times of old. So then you go right over to Ireland where they would say that, or to Wales, and they would say, no, the stone had, how dare you desecrate that? They already know because they heard it. Because there's probably a couple of things that popped off over there and they had boxed their ears in a way unknown. So then you go over and you say, this man literally traveled the world. He did quite the run. Right the run. It really was not manifested. This is the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. It really wasn't planted. It really wasn't high road or anything or smooth sailing. It really was a bump, but it is highly confirmed. You're an end. You're an end. You can't even do it or like dictate it out. That's the Ace of Surge. Everything you're seeing and hearing and thinking and feeling about how it's going on, it's true. It's true. It's true to your aspect. So when it came to Hitler and the dictatorships, it was true to a fact. And that's why, like I had said, Reichstag was so pivotal, even in historical records, because that teenager had gone into their museum, which is almost like a mausoleum, for a lack of a better term. It was disgusting and gray and ashy. That they, during Nuremberg trials, where they had to sit there and watch, and then actually watch and time it, and then everything was true, that you couldn't even see it, that they had so like full legal pursuing after that massive fire that upon a look they could deem it true. So was it a mob move or was it anything like that? Because when they look at the sky and they say "Rent Ru Ra," you have to say Juzalani Asia Azita. That means you gotta be like the wizard of all wizards to get it done, a DUN. But it ends up being a DUNN, which ends up being almost a Lucifer. Like, is that a conspiracy theory? No. But what I'm seeing as a psychic, it literally is like down to JFK, down to the Bay of Pigs again. And you have to say, where did that actually go through? They just declassed a bunch of stuff. Why are we talking about Abraham Lincoln and a tree? A tree. That literally blocked them up. When I see this, I have to say ill justice was old, that it's so good today and it tastes well, that you had to look at the witch hunt. And you have to look at it and it says the high priestess. Because you can't even do, because when I watch my spouse play his video games and my children, and I sit there and I go, holy cow, they got it done in their own way. Nothing upon and nothing within. That's strength, because they sat there alone. What really, it's this Eight of Cups that you can't even see it coming. It's a walking away and a turning point that's so well with the moon that the cups of chalice during a ritual white initiation to the Isle of White to the right, and then you look to the right because you're like, I already know it's a play on words. It is about solitude, absolute solitude to the point of hermit mode. It had to do with securements with Hitler and the dictatorships, where they looked at the night sky and they said NITE, but really it was at night. And they went in crescent, down to a crescent roll, to a hot dog to troll you, some way, somehow, a criminal today's game that ends it completely. Because they already knew you were going to do it some way, somehow. Why? Old habits die hard. So when you see it, it is patterns of behavior. It truly is the driven of the soul that comes it through. So where would that go into a psyop? Is like what they would say, running a rue, running amok on something to get it done so they can sit alone and rest and relax because you're up them in a way unknown. So, ends are still true. And, they could be good and they could be bad. It all depends. So when I see this and I see the Seven of Cups, it goes through to the highest degree of a rule, which is a mob run rule to like put everyone in their place and sit and watch legally and lawfully, even in 2025, where they can say, here's all the options because we sat here and we watched it. And it's not illegal to say that. It's not a tip off or anything like that. But really, when I see a 308 caliber, I have to say the tip was so well that it actually drunk well down to a sunk to a shark. And so when I see it and I see the world, you have to go through it. And it says it's a completion of a cycle. It's DONE. That is the fiery beginning that actually pops it all off with the arrest that shocks the world. Like we said, it really was about Sean Combs and all his ins and all his do's and all his doings. So where racketeering is truly an arrest. Because racketeering, as we've educated before, is, a federal crime so high because it steals from the innocent unbeknownst. And they usually do all crimes and use witchcraft to conceal it. Now, where did he make his magic the most? And as I'm seeing this Hitler and Mussolini and others, Mussolini was a little bit different. His was a dry wood. And when I see it and I look at Hitler, it really was a wheel, W-I-E-L-W to L-U-I-S-E-L. It really was disturbing on what he could do with just aspirin. That's why I was like, that's birch. He could cut away with just baby aspirin. How powerful were they? So when I see this, this is where it was, and that's why it would be. That's why we have the regulations that we do in the current date and time about dispense, dispel, and disperse, and pharmacy. So I can see why people get upset when there is a vending machine of birth control without a doctor presence. So when I look at it, and you have to say, it boiled down to the rights, not the law or the addendum, down to rights, R-I-G-H-T-S to R-I-T-S, that they're allowed to have that vending machine, a plan B, because there's something else going on. So when I see this, and I see the Seven of Wands, you have to say, it really is no struggle. You have to sit there and watch and have it be pertinent. What is pertinent? So when I see this, and it's stone cold apathy with this 4 of Cups in reverse, and there is, but it actually sits good. And it's like not sitting well. It's working your skill, working your elements, all about you. But there's something in the wind where copper and Mercury, copper's gone, Mercury as well. When I see calcium and phosphorus, to something else that's really hard to see, it's hardly obscured, that it sits there and goes, you can't even see it well. But when you go over to Aboriginal, over to Australia, and they're doing a Perth, and what we know over as a Perth over here is a type of like a little trickery where you can get it done when you put it into them, and it comes out and it grows, and you say, there it is, there it is, there it is. It really is what they call a catatonia, and when they do it, they can't even be it whatsoever. That is elemental. That's a little bit of alchemy. So when you move your hand that way and you do it, and usually my gestures are like that to get your guns, and then you do, and then you see, that is how witchcraft to the highest ranking in a coven can sit well in a mob, in a family, in a get together. Because all of a sudden you're like, how is it that all of us sit here and read and you're still out of the game? I just don't know. I just don't know either. But we stayed in our lane. That's all you need to know. So when I go it really is the true shoe of a boo of a loo. And I'm not venting. It really isn't. But that is how good Hitler was. He just had to think it, say it, do it. At that point, he wasn't. He was so powerful and amped from the seconds, from the pill popping and the concoctions, because he was festering in a way unknown. And he would keep track and all of it down to his horses. So that scene in Schindler's List with Eamon Gurthy, where he flipped out completely about the attack, the horses, like all the nuances, to where you want to sit there and cry. Like, I really have to hold back on that one, on that scene of the little girl with the red petticoat. You had to say they had enough when they got to the chicken, and they did an execution. So that is how bad a muck and witchery can be, where they're like, where is the rat that did the slew? Because here I am, and I was doing well, and I was doing fine, set and secure, and I got nothing to show. So that is how like hard they would speak right through you, and then you go, you know what? I really do have to be coming back in my way unknown. So then I could see him actually talking to Mussolini. And he's looking up at the stars. And where's his head? probably over in Egypt. And that is where, the show Ancient Aliens and the energy of this deck is the Two of Swords. It really is an eyes wide shut. You're not supposed to watch it. You're supposed to hear it. You're supposed to feel it. And then you will see it. It's CEA in their world at that time came in through, meaning a type of magic that's so solid, it's soft. So when you look at it and you go, you can't even be it hard enough, that you can't even see it. What is true? Just a couple, and I feel it right now. It's just the Queen of Clubs. It just sit alone as yourself and just listen to how hard it is. Because you can't even be it hard enough. And then it goes, there it was. There's the impedance. Because it wants to see it through and true. So sometimes the impedance comes through. Like, what are you doing? Because you're actually doing well. And how did you do that? So well. That's a magic. And that's how they used to do. So that is true. Now, as I'm looking at it, there is an in-between. There is a time lapse. There is a timeline jump. And that is what was annoying. Because you could sit there and you can have your cup of coffee. And then all of a sudden you're like, why am I in 1956 when I'm in 1917? That is how fast politics moves. That is how, projecting they are on the table. Now, they literally are a little bit more on a time of a time. But when I'm looking and reflecting back over the last maybe 3 administrations, I have to say they're pretty forward and pretty fast advanced. Because I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm just enjoying myself doing everything in my own way. The kids are very contented. The animals are contented. I mean, we've been eating every day. It's not the best of the best, but in reality, I don't need the bank. Because when I look at it, it's still meant to be a mystery. They're hiding this. I do see the Rosetta Stone. I do see Giza. And then I'm going to bring it right into Gaza. What did they know that dictatorship and others during these times where it went right through the conspiracy theories to the Psyops, where it was so good to actually hear about JFK, RFK, and Martin Luther King and how it's pertinent and it was okay to declass everything. It was something of no skilled work that would come in, which was like a young offer that came through. Because when you see this otter's holding a cup of coffee. And it's innocent. It's soft. But really, it was this nasty, type of regression, it wants to say, with the Empress in reverse. But really, when they say it was opaque energy and witchcraft, when ill and sour and casted in and out and throwing energy, can go gray, green, to black, to heinous, to a cult block to dock it up, which means it would be like a Davy Jones locker. So when I see it and I have to say that is why we're so vigilant on regulations, policies, and procedures to reporting all forms of communication. So when I say when you report in, how did you actually report in? Because there's no record. That's all you need to know. So when I see this 4 wands, you can actually literally say there's something to do on that. So when I actually do a something to do on that, you can't even do. Because when you actually boil it down to the contracts, old contracts are just starting to come in. I would have to say from 1812 through 1929. Those were the contracts and the steps and the tiers, especially being adherent to it. That's why there's a lot of people that's not out of the game yet. That is the dictatorship. That's where they were sitting, where they're like, no, we can actually sit here and say what we want to say and do what we want to say and say de le meni because of what you NEA. So when I actually look at it, and I actually have to say, that is how nasty it was to get a point out. That I actually have to go and look and say that was how intuitive and psychic that even a cup of coffee in the morning alone, ALONE, that is where Germany really ruled the best was grammar. Italy was paperwork. Japan was execution out through the paperwork. It was the importance of follow through and diligence to where even Great Britain and America and others in the alliance went, I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what to do. So when I look at this and I say the Wheel of Fortune comes through, we're going to go right into a conspiracy theory. And it's going to talk about Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer was, in his own way that I can see as a psychic, a rent and a renewal and a renowned way of being about and knowing about, to where the crime was so heinous. Detectives and investigators still to this day say Netflix was right. How did he do that? How did he do that? That was how disgusting it was. So leading into it, I have to just say, like, the obscurity of having it is unbeknownst. But what is true about all of it? Is it a crime to be? No. Usually those who are in a coven, and it's true how it has, like, they're showing me in psychic mediumship, a coven actually started after a cut. After a cut. So let's actually look at something else. A little bit longer and a little bit deeper. Because I want to know how it is affecting a truth. We'll go to Light Seers Tarot, and then we'll go to the Lyrian Witches. So I see a little bit of mafia, more than gang or anything like that. But really, in today's time, it really, for lack of a better term, a hood rat would actually be best on a pickup. So basically, when you do a pickup, you actually had a through and through, but you can literally, like, just turn it. It's not psychic. You just heard it through the wind. So when I look at it into the Ten of Wands and it says, on a through and through, and you're waving your fan because you're down south, and you say, bless your heart. And you go, I can't even believe how well it threw. You can't even see it through to the point of grace, to the point of lying, on how good it can sue. So 10 of Wands to the Page of Wands in reverse, all in reverse. It is alleviation or struggle that they were looking for back then. Why would they be talking to aliens and unidentified objects? Energy. Transfer of energy. That's what they're showing me. To almost heritage and rank. How did that get through? Because it's sitting so well. It's like clean and clear. It's clean and clear. How did that happen? I mean, you just couldn't even do it. Here they are. It's so happy sitting here first thing in the morning. And then you look and you say the wheel in reverse is like you didn't even complete anything on all forms. You look at it in the moon, and everyone's looking at each other like, "What do you mean all forms?" And they're looking at the paper. They're still festering about a piece of paper that like stops people, and they had already like figured it out, and that was the annoyance. Now, in truth, it really was heinous because what they're showing me was a little bit more that they were mentally, emotionally, and physically ill with unknown source. And it was affecting everyone to the point of criminal activity. And you didn't know who a criminal was. So when I see the moon, there's some things that are still meant to be a mystery and not meant to be spoken of. Because when you actually look at classified and sensitive, it is to protect the integrity of individuals, generations, and lineage to the investigation. Some things are meant to sit still. And that is where we bring up, and we end it a little bit today because this one was harsh. And I go, no, I was supposed to. And that's how you know. And I'm just showing you as an example on how impedance comes in through today. It really comes in. This Two of Pentacles comes in and says, no. Imbalance of energy and monetary comes in from bad judgments. Are you sure? A lot of times, passed down from generation and generation, they could rarely get it done because it was already foretold. It would happen if they did it and they did it in. Here we go. Literary Witches Oracle. There we go. So then all of a sudden it happens. I am so sorry for that pause. Then all of a sudden they had a meeting of the mind so quick that you couldn't even believe it. They came to terms on a settlement because they came out right out of their bodies over one paper to one word back in 1918. So when I see house, it really is a brick. And then I see it is you got to pace yourself with this one. It really is. I think it just really becomes a segment on this because it was a quiet place of growth. It really was a belonging. It really was true because when you see power, let me see it. Power actually means that you can't see it hard enough. But it's true. So to measure it scientifically, power would actually be so solid that when you walk through, the energy shifts and changes. So when I see it and I see health and toxicity, when I see Hitler and the others who were taking pharmaceuticals and ways and concoctions as they've seen and studied in video, that you can even see it on Netflix. It really is open to what he did, that it concocted. It was chemistry, it was physics, it was anatomy and physiology. So when I see the braid, I have to say it was a hemp review that came through on a burn that gave a vision of what to do. And I have to say it boiled right down to Native Americans. And he goes, why is it Indigenous review? And I said, that was a Lakeland low, a Lakeview low. L-E-U. And I said, that's heinous. That is heinous. That literally is like such a cut of an execution out. When you do glove, like everything has to be white glove. So what do? You do your protect right now. So when you see the story and you actually see it come through, you have to say, it really was heinous. It really is. Because it was written that it would happen if it was true. Because the rabbit comes through and you go, you can't even believe it whatsoever. Small review. Listen close down to the ground on the low, and it will be there right on the soil, and it will be right there on the low, because when you see it, you see absolute bravery. Absolute bravery. The snail comes through, and you have to say, it will ride through hard, but really it's the lure. And then we'll get into a little bit of folklore. So basically, that came up in a few of my instances, and this is creative. Like, this was highly creative, whatever has been happening even today, on what they had to do then, on how it reflects today, and why everyone said, no, it's popping off. No, the EBS is popping off. It is sounding. And then we're going to have a huge change. And then it's going to do this. It was literally lore that sold it well to continue on to this day talking about it, of the underground patriot movement. So when I look at it and I say it was true of a tale to a whale tale, of a bale of hay to a male review, and you go, right there. That's how quick they are in Celtic folklore. They're like, it's just right there. Just a few words. Right in your backyard. You can't even believe it. You can't even see it. You can't even do it or be it. To lease it out to a way unknown. So with that being said, that's all you have to do. Any questions, concerns, or comments is absolutely fine. Go ahead and leave it an email. A like and a share is greatly appreciated, and we will talk to you soon on a part 2 of this.